Let's get into it. Welcome, everybody. I'm so excited to be able to introduce to you our people at our party today, two really important people to us at Much, and that is Greg and Mary Thompson. Say hello.
Hello.
Greetings. This beautiful couple, they chair our board of directors, and I know when you say board of directors, a lot of people have this like boring, not fun, sitting in a boardroom kind of mentality, but that is not what happens at our board meetings. I mean, some of it is a little number crunchy, but for the most part, we have a great time. And a lot of that is due to the way that this couple leads us. So, and they're also amazing philanthropists. And so, Greg and Mary, could you tell us a little bit about how did you become philanthropists to begin with? I don't think you started that way when you were 25.
Correct. And there's a little bit of background, so forgive me if I give some background.
No, we love that.
Great. Well, when Greg and I met and started dating, he and his dad had just started a business together, and it was an insurance business, and they were devoted to it. And Greg was the only employee. He shared a desk and a typewriter with another person.
Okay, for those of you that are under 30, typewriters are things we used to have before we had computers. Okay.
Right, before computers. So, and in fact, when visiting insurance people that Greg's dad knew and was friends with came to town, we used to, Greg and I used to double date with his parents, his mother and his father, meeting these insurance people. So it was, the business was always a really big presence in our lives, in our life together. So we got married, and Greg continued to work away at the business and continued to get great advice and mentoring from his father. Mm-hmm. And the business grew, and it did well, and time went on, and there were more employees, and there's a bigger office and so forth, and it was doing fairly well, not quite as well as it could have. It was kind of a mystery. Everybody just kept working really hard, but there was kind of a mystery as to why it wasn't doing as well as it could have. So years went by, and 1997, one night, Greg came home rather late. He'd been first playing tennis and then having a beer with a friend of his, and talking to his friend and trying to figure out how to tell me, how to talk to me about this big news that he had for me, which was that he figured out that the company had been embezzled to the tune of $1.5 million.
Actually more, but it doesn't matter.
Actually more, yeah. Closer to $2 million.
Yeah.
And so the company was completely broke. No money. The company had no money. It was gone. And he was personally liable for all of the debts to all of his clients and all of his customers. So we were completely bankrupt, and there was an excellent possibility we'd have to sell the house and cars and move into a little apartment with our 4-year-old daughter, who had just been diagnosed with some severe neurological problems. So big news. It was really big news. And so I looked at Greg and I said to him, "Sweetheart, as long as we're together, we'll be fine." Just like that. As long as we're together, we'll be fine. We'll make it through. We'll work it out. And those wedding vows are really powerful. And there's a very, very great blessing that goes with them, and grace that helps you to live the vows. Yeah. So Greg then proceeded to figure out how to save his company. And that's where you come in.
Well, first of all, I was very moved by Mary's response, and it was so important to me at the time. I really dreaded telling her, and the way she responded really reminded me what was really important at the end of the day. And while, you know, facing personal and corporate bankruptcy is not something you take lightly, and but it just helped remind me that, you know, basically what she said was, as long as we're together, we're okay. So, but anyway, I'm not going to bore you or the audience with all the details of how we dug out of this incredibly deep hole. There's no reason that the company should have survived, but it did. And it was due to a lot of hard work on the part of myself and the staff, which I say that our staff at the company were incredible. We shared openly with them our problems, and everybody just came together as a team to dig us out. But really, there was even more harder work done by the Holy Spirit, because things came together that should not have come together. And within 18 months, we were solvent again as a company. And 15 years later, we were doing extremely well, and decided, as the management team, we decided to sell the company, and got a pretty incredible price for it. It was a pretty successful concern. And when that happened, Mary and I sort of had the same thought at the same time, which is that this is great. Yeah, we're gonna spend some of this. We're gonna enjoy it, but
we're not monks.
But a large part of it, really, we felt we were called to take a large chunk of what we'd received and share it with others. And in particular, we felt like we got a lot in our dark days, both dark days with the business, difficult times with our daughter, with her challenges. We got a lot of help, and we came to the other side, thanks to that help, that we wanted to use a good part of the assets from the sale to help other people get help to be successful like we got, because not everybody has those kind of resources that we were able to tap into.
Yeah. Wow. So it's amazing how, I love that you tell the whole story, that you start from that very important sentence, as long as we're together, we'll be okay. You know, that's clarity right there. And then it seems like the way you've chosen to give and comes right out of that too. It's that people need to work hard, and they also need help.
Yes.
And that, I think that is such a beautiful posture of bringing those two things together. It really inspires Beaver and I, inspires our whole board, honestly, the way you two, the posture that you have as you give and as you lead, it's really phenomenal. I couldn't say more about that, but let's talk about how Much Ministries came into your life, and how did you decide that, hey, Much is going to be a part of our story? Why did you choose Much? How'd that happen?
Well, our philosophy of philanthropy has evolved since the sale of the company, which was in 2012. And before that, you know, we made regular donations at our church and small donations in other, with other opportunities that presented themselves. But when it became possible for us to really share, or, you know, really act as stewards of financial resources, our philosophy started to develop. And we began to understand that you have to work hard, but you need help. Mm-hmm. And we really wanted to focus on people who wanted a hand up, not a handout. Mm. We wanted to find philanthropies, and there are wonderful philanthropies that take care of people in dire need, you know, just in the moment.
Right.
But we really felt called to the philanthropies that help people find their own skills and develop their own abilities to become self-sufficient and restore their dignity. So really, our philanthropies, the specific, that's our philosophy, that our specific philanthropies kind of came into our lives. I mean, they just came to us. For example, we met you and Beaver through a mutual friend, good friend. And we met you, and we really responded to the goodness and the passion and the commitment that you and Beaver both exemplify. And we just find the mission and the details of the way that you're executing your mission with Much Ministries and Marketplace Gone Naive and ProLead and Second Story Goods. It's really inspiring. I mean, it just fits perfectly with what we feel called to support.
Yeah, just to back that up, I mean, I agree with Mary. What we saw in Much Ministries, we looked at, the ProLead leadership, where you're basically helping people develop a mentality of that will serve them well in a job, and really counters the poverty mentality, that the poverty cycle, where people realize they have control over their future and can change it. Looking at Second Story Goods, where you've got, any number of women who might otherwise be unemployed, in, being able to put together products that you can sell both in Haiti and abroad. And then you look at Marketplace Gone Naive, which is basically a social enterprise where you're creating in a city that really hasn't had anything like it before, a strip mall that is gaining great traction with local merchants, and which will employ a number of the people who've been trained in ProLead. So it's just a wonderful story. It's all about people taking control of their lives, and it's very exciting.
Yeah, that's great. You guys are very intentional. What we've learned from being around you and watching you, and as you lead our board, you're very intentional and keeping the main thing, which is leaving a city better off than the way we found it. Like that to me, it seems like if this doesn't create real change, you have no interest in it whatsoever. If we're just like making mud pies over here, you guys have no interest. But and I love that, and it's been so good for Beaver and I to work with you, because even though we have so much passion and we get to be there in the daily of watching individual people and faces and families, what you guys have brought to Much Ministries is the fiscal responsibility, understanding that the story that we tell with our books is the story that some people read. And we didn't really understand that in our passion for just faces. So that's been a huge help to us. But then also just that we never coast. It's always working to make it better, always working to get the next thing done. And I think that's been just great for us as a board too. I don't know that every nonprofit organization has that kind of board that is that well connected, I guess, to the work and that committed. So it's been amazing. It's been really good. Let me ask you this, because I'm sure at our Christmas party we have other people who are getting up to that age when they're going to sell a business, or maybe they've inherited a larger some money and they just want to learn, how do I get into giving back? And it's got to be hard, because maybe you never had money to do that with before. And like Mary said, all of a sudden we're responsible for these resources. What do we do first? Can you give us a few pieces of advice for people that are in that situation?
Well, I think that it's important to identify what your own passion is. There are people who want to give, people who want to support the arts, and that's very, very important. And there are people who want to support zoos, and people who want to be involved in, athletic activities, and these are all really important. But you just have to decide what you're passionate about and what you can really commit to and get excited about. And for us, the idea of helping people get themselves on their feet and build really happy, solid lives and provide for their families and for the futures of their families, that's exciting. That's really exciting to us. So you pick a philosophy, or you pick a particular activity that you're passionate about, and look into it, and decide where you think you can make a difference, and talk to people, talk to everybody. Say, who are you? Who are you supporting these days, and what are you excited about? And network, in other words.
Yeah, I think what we discovered was that after the sale of the company, we were looking for some opportunities for not only to donate, but also to spend time, not just offering treasure, but time as well, causes that we could support. And, we were very alert to what might be out there. And of course, we talked to people and everything else, but our experience was the opportunities came to us. Now, we were looking for them, and we were alert to them, but they came to us, and we really within a few years, didn't have trouble finding some significant causes, not the least of which was much, which is right at the very top of our giving, and very, very important to us, something we really want to give time and treasure to. So really, it's not that hard. You just got to do a little bit of work on it, but you don't have to work that hard, at least in our experience. The other thing is you got to develop a budget of how you want to give in terms of dollars. There are lots of different ways to give, and you can give appreciated assets, for example, which can be very tax efficient and avoid capital gains taxes and get a large credit against your taxes. But in terms of developing a budget, in our particular case, we decided, and we realized that this is by no means for everyone, but in our case, we decided that we were going to donate at least every year the dividends and interest from our assets, and then at least some principal, although it's worked out to be a fairly small percentage of principal that we give away every year, but that's sort of been our philosophy of how we've gone at it. Somebody else may choose justifiably a completely different way, but you do need to have a budget as well.
Yeah, that's good. So I can imagine, especially when people are meeting with you and the needs are so great. I mean, you guys came to Haiti, you walked the streets of Gonaïves. I'll never forget walking downtown Gonaïves with Mary. And I thought, oh my gosh, it's crazy town, and what is she gonna think? And I would never forget, Mary, your comment was like, well, most of the world looks like this. Like, I've tried, I've been to India, been to all these different places. And you're like, this really doesn't really shock me. Most of the world, it looks more like this than it looks like an Atlanta suburb, Wow, that was such a great perspective that you gave me. But as you see so many situations and hear so many people doing so many good things, I imagine having a budget to know, okay, this is the pie we can divide each year, is probably freeing and gives you a track to run on. So that's a good point to take away. And
I just thought of something. We have really enjoyed being involved in the project and watching it grow. So to have a budget in mind of what you're going to be able to give on a regular basis is important. If you can make a one-time donation, of course, that's always fantastic. But you don't get as much, enjoyment out of it because, you're not as well. You can be involved, but we have had, what I'm trying to say is we've had the pleasure of seeing the effect of our giving over the years.
Right.
And the impact and, the way that y'all have been able to take, a penny and turn it into a dollar's worth of impact in Haiti. It's just amazing.
It is amazing, and we're very proud to be part of the Much family. I mean, it's a great organization to participate in. It's a great organization to give to and see the benefit. As Mary says, the bang for the buck is pretty incredible. In Haiti, you think about Haiti, I think it's the poorest country in the Western Hemisphere,
Yes.
if I'm not mistaken. And so, it's quite a challenge. But it's all about, as you and Beaver point out all the time, it's all about breaking the poverty cycle and changing people's mindset about how they work and how much control they can have over their own lives.
Yeah, that's been definitely been our learning curve, and realizing nobody goes in and saves someone else. We all just we need a path, and we need some of those boulders moved out of the way, like you said. You gotta be willing to work, but you also need a little bit of help. And boy, that has certainly been our experience as people. That's really all people need. They're so much better equipped to take care of their families, to take care of their children. When our first trip to Haiti, and we were approached, and someone wanted us to take their child and put it in our orphanage. And I was like, why would you think I have an orphanage? But I can understand that when you go there and you see all these children and the poverty just seems so overwhelming, you want to just, gather them all in and give them a nice space to live, but you're taking them away from their family units. And nobody can replace a family unit. And I think that's the biggest thing that part of our North Star with Much is that our goal is to keep families together. So if it's to help a wife or a husband be able to get their own business up and going through the ProLead training, or jobs through Second Story Goods, it's the fact that the family unit can stay together. And that's a lot harder to do. It's a lot harder to do. Yeah.
It's a lot easier to give stuff away.
It is. It is. So we've definitely learned a lot being there, and the people of Haiti have taught us much. Well, thank you. Is there anything else you'd like to add, and that you want the party to know?
One last thing that I might mention is that we have one daughter, and when we pass, our estate is far more than what she will need, and we've set aside, however, a portion, a minority of our estate for her, to make sure that she'll be okay financially. But the lion's share of our estate will be set aside in a giving fund that will be managed by our daughter and her cousins. And that we've set that up because we want to pass along, as part of our legacy, we want to pass along the spirit of giving and of supporting, helping people who can't completely help themselves. And so it's really been interesting, because what we did to try to facilitate this and prepare them for this future is every year we set aside $50,000 for them, my daughter and her cousins, to jointly decide upon charitable ventures that they want to invest in or donate to. And once a year, we all meet in December. We will meet again in a few weeks. We meet in December, and they share with us the charities that they have chosen over the course of the past year. They meet 3 times a year, and we share with them the charities that we have supported over the past year. And then we go out, then we have dinner together. And it's a great thing on several fronts. First of all, as I mentioned, it's passing on the legacy of giving, but it's also bringing together family members in a common purpose that helps strengthen those ties of family. And so for us, we're very excited about it. It's now 5 years that we've been doing this. They call themselves, our daughter and her cousins call themselves the Legacy Partners.
Thompson Legacy
Partners.
Like
and it's worked out beautifully. So I just pass that along to anybody who is thinking about something like this, that there are creative ways that you can pass a legacy down, a legacy of giving beyond your own generation.
Yeah, that's amazing. And you're giving them the practice of doing it now with your guidance as they go. That's brilliant. Yeah, that is brilliant.
And we've shared with them our mission, our philosophy.
Yeah, that's wonderful. I'd just like to say too, to people that are thinking about perhaps working with Much, one-time gifts are super helpful, but the other thing that also helps us be able to plan for the months, which is what our board really likes, is when we have monthly givers. So if you're thinking about, making a donation, and if would suit your income to do it on a monthly basis, we've got that set up. You can punch a button and it's really easy to sign up for that. And that helps us plan out future. When you start an organization, I think we started with about $373, started Much Ministries. And we've lived very much hand to mouth. And you can only do that for so long until you want to grow. And you've got to hire professional people to do the professional work of leveling up, and so you've got to be able to, tell them you're actually going to get a paycheck every month this year. And so, and also, it's so important in Haiti to have that stability, because without the stability, you start making decisions that aren't great for your family. And so that's one thing we're really concentrating on being able to offer our staff in Haiti, is the stability of knowing, with our finances. So anyway, that's a little commercial.
and you are staffed by local people.
Yes.
And your goal from the beginning has been to train people to take over the whole operation.
Yeah, we have such great leaders and managers in Haiti, and one of the reasons I'm here is because we have staff in Haiti that, we just got off of a staff call before we started this one, but they know what they're doing, and they're doing it well. So that feels like a parental congratulations to myself.
Well, you should be congratulated, because as you know, we've been there with you a number of times, and we've seen the excitement in the management team, down at the local management team, and they don't come across as people who think that they have no future. They're people who are excited about their future, and it's a really wonderful thing to see.
Yeah, that's true. I still cry when I have FaceTime meetings with them. I miss them so much. Yeah, it's pitiful. Well, thank you guys so much for doing this interview again.
A pleasure. It's a pleasure. We get to talk to you 2 days in a row, Kathy.